Rose.
And on the comments made by my right honourable friend and parliamentary neighbour, the MP for North Somerset, about the level of tax, because of course at the end of the Chancellor's speech there was an extremely welcome departure from the fears which my right honourable friend was talking about, which was a genuine tax cut. It came in the form, of course, of a reduction in the universal credit taper rate, but that is effectively, as we know, a tax cut, and it was particularly welcome, Madam Deputy Speaker, because it is targeted laser-like on the least well-off, on the lowest paid. And that means that it is genuinely a levelling up measure, because it means that the lowest paid can retain more of their earnings. And it wasn't just 1%, it wasn't just 2%, it was cut right down by, I think it's 8%, down to 55%. So it is a huge, huge levelling up measure, and extremely welcome for any red-blooded tax-cutting Conservative they could possibly want to see. But it isn't just the impact on tax cutting and on levelling up, it is also the effect that a measure like that will have on work incentives. Because one of the people who I admire most in the Conservative Party's long and illustrious history is Nigel Lawson. And he said, when he cut top rates of tax from somewhere in the 90%, as bequeathed to us by the party opposite, down to 40 or 45%, he said, look, there is a point here about work incentives. You cannot expect people to work their socks off and then have the government swipe it all because the government believes that it can spend the money better than they can. And he was right. But the point is, of course, that if he's right for the best paid, for the high earners, for the most well-off, he must also be right for the least well-off too. And therefore the effect on work incentives for this particular tax cut, this reduction in the taper rate for universal credit, is particularly welcome because of the effect it's going to have on the work incentives of the least well-off in our country. And that, I think, is something which is often glossed over, but is absolutely essential for all of us to remember. And it's also, of course, fairer, Madam Deputy Speaker, because the sad fact is that at the moment we have a system which, as a result of these measures, is of course a great deal fairer than it was. It's reduced from 63 to 55%, the levels of effective taxation on the least well-off. But we can, and I hope we will in future, go further than this. Because if you look at the effects of other taxes, which are already underway and have been in place for many, many years in this country, if your earned income, your taxes on earned income run between roughly 20% and 45%, but on dividends they run between 7% and 38%, all of which are basically lower than the taxes on earned income. On capital gains, the taxes run between 10 and 20%, again lower than on earned income. The taxes on property gains run between 18% and 28%, again lower than on earned income. As a result, Madam Deputy Speaker, I believe that this is a vital step in what I hope will be the beginning of a long journey to head us towards a Nigel Lawson-esque kind of tax system, which will say it should not matter whether or not you are getting money from your earnings, from unearned income, or from, hang on a second, or from benefits. They should all be treated the same as income. This is a proud Conservative idea, first a principle first enunciated by Nigel Lawson. This is something which we own and which we should be fearless in putting across and putting ahead, and I'll happily give way.
I just wanted to absolutely clarify this point because it's potentially quite significant. The characteristic of a Lawson-esque tax system is, of course, that capital is taxed at the same rate of income. Is that what he's advocating?
I am indeed advocating that all income should be taxed equally. And this is the Lawson-esque idea. He's absolutely right. And the reason why it is so essential and why Nigel Lawson had this right was because the whole point of it is that it then creates work incentives for everybody because they know they're going to be treated fairly, and it also means that you have a system which has legitimacy, because it doesn't matter who has the best lobbyists, it doesn't matter who has the best campaigners. Everybody knows you have a nice, simple, flat, straightforward tax system, and everybody knows where they stand. Nigel Lawson was right about this. I hope that the Chancellor's budget speech last week is the first step in what I think will be a long and difficult but ultimately incredibly worthwhile journey in that respect. So I hope, Madam Deputy Speaker, that this is the beginning of something important, of something exciting, and something which is ultimately fairer, more just, but also economically far more literate, because it creates a situation where it always, always, always pays to work, it always, always, always pays to save, and it always, always, always pays to try and get yourself out of benefits by taking those extra hours if you possibly can, and it creates a situation where those work incentives are always there.